having an affair with this guy. He even admitted to the operator that it was a friend.
It was 3rd of September, the day I remember, yeah. And it was the day my daddy died. I never got a chance to meet him. Never heard nothing but bad things. Mama, I'm depending on you to tell me the truth. And she said somebody was a rolling stone. When his hand was his home. When it died, they left us alone. She said somebody was a rolling stone. When his hand was his home. When it died, they left us alone. Never got a chance to meet him. Never had another Mama, I'm depending on you. Tell me the truth. She hung her head. She said so. She hung her head. I was a rolling stone. When his hand was his home. When I was his alone. He said I was a rolling stone. When his hand was his home. When it died, we left us lost alone.
Climbing up the charts real fast. Yes, the Real Deal Temptations right there. Coming in at number 4 on the Billboard Top 100 right here. It is a standard, isn't it? And it's golden. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, wherever you find yourself here tonight on this very, very, very precious now, as every day is very precious. Wednesday, I believe. I believe this is Wednesday. And if it's not, then I'll eat crow. But good evening. I am Dean Ryan, your late night host here, and this is World at War. As tonight's episode is the Anti-Americanism on the Rise. Yes, yeah. Sadly, not the decline, but the rise. And there's many reasons for it. We'll be getting into that as our feature story here tonight, as a lot of twists and turns, especially in the war on cartels, which could really, as my definition, my translation, is a proxy war with China, as China's favorite proxy war sparring partner is Israel. But you didn't hear it from me. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Also, tonight we're also going to get into a return of the bat who loved us. Yes, that Wuhan little critter that gave everyone a terrible cold, where we were told we had to take the miracle jabs of life, the boosters, and just put a mask on and stay 6 feet apart and count to 20. Well, there's a return of that in California. They're saying we'll be investigating that with our magnifying glass and see who's behind that one too, the hidden hands. Also, we have some major World War III news and a Xi Jinping Chinese parade you don't want to miss. And I've seen many parades, but this one, they're saying, takes the cake. Yes, the Xi Jinping and the PLA and the CCP, who won't let us be, have a parade of great strength and good fortune and good health too. Everything we've always read on a fortune cookie on full display. So I have a little clip of that, and we had a tech. I can't download any videos. Something happened, but that one I managed to get. Also, we have a defiant Netanyahu on the loose. What's new and what's wrong with that idea? Also, we're going to be talking about now the calls for the arrest of John Brennan. Yeah, the Dr. Frankenstein who created in a laboratory a man called Obama, and probably the husband too. What's his name? Michelle. That's right. We'll see what the new echoes for arrest are. We'll see if the statute of limitations is still a part of it. We'll get into the thicker end of that. Plus, our feature story again. They're telling Gringo to go home. That's right, Gringo. That's all of you, and not just that drummer. But yeah, from Mexico, I have a future story on that you don't want to miss. And plus, finally, just a wonderful miracle cure in vitamin D, and how it's now proven to slow aging. Well, why did someone tell Keith Richards that a long time ago? He's been asking. So we'll be getting into the miracles of life there. Okay, we are broadcasting live over there on The Real Dean Ryan, over there on the travel page on Facebook. Hello, everybody. Hello to all two of you. It's so good to see you again. It's so cozy. Thank you for being here if you can actually see me. As well as we're on Dean Ryan TV over there at the Graveyard on YouTube, and the newly Graveyard Rumble, where I've been frozen for 2 years, and I'm not talking about carcinogenics freezing either, but you know what I mean. All right, let's get started now with a few headlines from around the world and in your neck of the deep state woods, shall we? To fruition here as Real Deal Headlines is making a comeback. And, how about last night, everybody? How about that night one with Mr. Richard Gage, a man who I shared pina coladas with in Acapulco. And next thing you know, he's on my show. And I became the engineer. It was really fun for me. But no, you don't want to miss night number 2 tomorrow night. But I'll tell you about that a little later. So let's now get started here. This is an incredible story of great proportion, and I'm just learning about it, just like many of you, as now the new cartel strikes coming soon, this fall, I should have said. Well, that's certainly the case, as Marco Rubio, who is flapping his way around all of the presidents of South America, and he's not very favorable with any of them. No, he's not. No, not even his own fake wife likes him that much. Well, get this now. Pentagon is now promising more strikes against cartels. They're promising. There's a difference. They're not threatening. They're promising, which is quite confusing. But yes, they're promising after the deadly boat raid over the weekend you might have heard about. And here's what we need to know about it, as I need to know a lot of things now, as the Defense Secretary, Pete Megaseth over there, warned that the further U.S. military action against cartels following a strike that killed 11 people on a boat over there in the Caribbean. Yeah, and I'm not talking Somali pirates either. I'm talking about, some friendlies of the unknowns that the Pentagon claimed was transporting drugs. And probably using people as human shields, too, if we could just pile that on. I mean, someone's got to say it. Well, here's what they said about it thus far. They're saying that, quote, "We've got assets in the air, assets in the water, and our assets on the ships." Yes. Well, they might have their assets on the bar, too, dancing later tonight, because now a deadly serious mission is for us, and it won't stop with just one strike, Hegeseth said. Well, if that's not a spokesperson for Adderall, I don't know what is. Move over, Tim Pool. Well, now he's saying also anyone who's trafficking in those waters, who we know is designated narco-terrorist, will face the same fate. Well, that's definitely tough talk, and he wants to win the belt back this year. Well, now the strike appears to be the first long-threatened military campaign by the Trump administration to stop the cartels from trafficking drugs into the United States. At least the bad ones, they're saying. despite questions over the legalities of such an operation. They said, well, hell, we'll figure that out 20 years from now when most of us will be dead. Well, Trump said recently, just today, this Wednesday, why the vessel was not intercepted and those on board arrested. He said that there were, quote, massive amounts of drugs that were really bad coming into our country to kill a lot of people, and everybody fully understands that. Well, I do. I mean, have you ever smoked bad weed before? I mean, you can really have a heavy heart in understanding what that means. Well, now, what about little secretary, that little sweet secretary, little Marco Rubio? What does she or he have to say about it and his just marvelous award-winning ears? Well, little Secretary Marco Rubio said that the strike took place in an international waters over there in the, quote, South Caribbean. So basically, he's copying and pasting what the other people in class are doing. Well, now he's also telling people to beware that this is only just the beginning. You haven't seen The Last of Us. And he says they're going to, quote, go after the drug vessel that had departed from Venezuela. Well, he also later said that similar strikes will happen again. How did I know he was going to say that? You know, these little secretaries think they run the joint, I tell you. Well, is it legal to bomb cartels is going to be one for the legal scholars to really pontificate for the decades to come. And they're saying Maduro should be worried. I think we need to be worried because we're fighting a proxy war. And I like to believe we're not fighting a proxy war for Israel. But I like to believe that Israel is a friendly, not an adversary. But then again, unicorns are not real, are they? Continuing now as we carry on in the shadow band of night. Well, that brings us now to, yes, the bat who loved us returns to California. Well, you may remember that adorable bat in his debut in 2020. He was a huge, huge hit, and people thought he was a friendly bat until he gave us the sniffles. And next thing you know, a good third of the country has been miracle jabbed, and many of them are just hanging on for dear life, and many of them have, well, blood clots. But don't blame the bat. Blame somebody else. Well, the bat now is returning to California now as COVID. And they've tried this before. They tried to do COVID 1.0, COVID 2.0, again and again, the second, third wave. I was there for those years, and I'll never forget. Well, in this case, the return of COVID, it seems to be a political posture by the Bram Stoker's Newsom over there, as now the COVID wave washes over California. Some officials urge residents to, you guessed it, mask up. Mask up. Yeah, well, this is an unusual return and repeat for that fact of the Twilight Zone for that nature is now the COVID wave that we thought was gone and they said was coming back at least 4 to 5 different times. Well, now it's washing over California once again, with the state seeing continued increases of numbers of newly confirmed cases and hospitalizations of, yes, you guessed it, COVID 1984. Haven't we been through this before? How many times do we have to do this cosplay or role playing? That's even sicker. We're role playing in like some kind of sexual deviance with the doctors and the American Medical Association. And somewhere along the line, Newsom's in there and his auntie is in a garter belt, which that has been discovered over the course of years now. Well, the extent of recent increases has now prompted some country and county level health officials who really care about our health to recommend that residents once again consider wearing a mask so you could suffocate and die before they have to count you as a person who is survived, at least until the transmission has declined. Yeah, we're turning more into Canada by the day, and they're turning more into China. I don't know what's going on here. Well, now the California currently it has, quote, high coronavirus levels in sewage. Just when you think it's safe to play in the sewage again, then you got to deal with COVID. I'm telling you. Well, the Center of Disease and Deception Control over there, well, now they're saying beware of the sewage as it increases are being seen across the Golden State from the Los Angeles County to all the bums over there in San Francisco Bay. Yeah, watch where you step. Well, now the CDC, who has done nothing but tell the truth And well, that was a lie. See, I'm giving you an example. Well, the CDC now estimates that the coronapalooza infections are now growing and likely growing in 30 states, including California. In fact, they just said, okay, we'll just be honest. It's the blue states that we can control. That's where it's growing. Yes, we're taking just a recycled repeat and page of 5 years ago now, as 21 states have either very high or high viral levels in the wastewater. And it could make you high. Well, of all the regions of the U.S., the West has the highest levels now. The coronapalooza, which is now returning, followed by the South, is now California is saying, to quote, California is experiencing a summer COVID wave. See, I didn't know this. I thought I was just healthy for no reason, and I just had no cough, nothing. And now I just have a silent COVID from the California waves. Well, that is just really, that's exciting, I think. I think we can look forward to some things this year. Okay, continuing now. So we now go to, well, Texas. Well, Texas is now making a bold statement, and I think it's time now that we do the same now, as Texas now bans lab-grown meat, which is yet another loss for the cows, just to be honest. Well, in this case, as Foodemic, as we shared with you now, as lab-grown meat seems to be the talk of the town, at least in Bill Gates' house. Well, now, in this case, Texas says, take that talk elsewhere, or we're going to be putting you on a steer with all the queers. Well, just as a few days ago, the lab-grown meat has now been banned in Texas for 2 years as part of the Senate Bill 261. Did you know that? Well, the law states that a person may not manufacture, process, possess, distribute, offer for sale, or sell cultured protein. Sell cultured protein. And don't you dare tell us how tofurkey is real turkey, because I've been stuck on that Thanksgiving before, and I just had no way of getting out of that one. Well, now the Texas ban has now cultivated the meat industry and all the meat lovers alike, as well, John Wayne had a lot of meat in him when he was dead. It said he had about 80 pounds of steak. Can you believe that? Jeez. Well, it's another classic example of the special interest legislation. Paul Sherman over there, the senior attorney at the Institute of Just Us, not you, but just us. Well, the law has nothing to do with public health and safety, and everything to do with protecting the powerful agriculture lobby from the innovative out-of-state competition. Well, Paul Sherman, it seems like Paul Sherman has a lot of estrogen from his tofu burgers lately, and I hope he chokes on it, because I'll be damned if I'm having lab-grown meat. What a globalist pig he is. Well, Sherman is the lead attorney in a lawsuit against a similar ban in Florida. See, he's lobbying for Bill Gates, and this guy has offshore accounts to have his proxy lawyers. Continuing now, well, he said that in a federal court rules in their favor, the same arguments will apply to Texas. And he says, we are hopeful that the courts will stand up for the right of the consumers to choose for themselves what foods they want to eat. And that's just that. Okay, so there you go. I would say that to Sherman that would we sell S on a stick and give the people, the consumer, the choice of eating S on a stick? Thank you. That's all the point I had. Okay, so here's the next story here. And finally, as we round up Real Deal headlines here in a very shadow banned kind of week, and I'm the shadow banned man, as now the FBI now arrest a U.S. Army veteran. Just for no reason. That's just what happened. Well, in this case, there's a lot of reason now, as they're making the case. And the reason, because it's the season for it, says now, alarm after FBI arrests U.S. Army veteran for, quote, conspiracy over protests against ICE. I'm assuming they mean the Immigration Customs Enforcement, not the bad ice that you get at Wendy's. Well, in this case, legal experts say charges against Afghanistan war veteran Bajun Mevawala. Yes, yeah, just like we heard in the Lion King there, Mr. Mavawala, the second, that is, marks an escalation in the Trump administration's crackdown on First Amendment rights. Yes, they're not rights, they're suggestions to some. Well, the arrest of the U.S. Army veteran who protested against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has raised alarms among legal experts all alike, and count me as one of them. Fellow veteran familiar with his service, assuming in the Army over there in Afghanistan. Now, Mr. Mavawalala, who is never shy of really voicing his opinion or his incredible voice. Well, he's a former Army sergeant who survived a roadside bomb. Sorry, I've been trying to kill that damn mosquito for 2 nights. I killed his brother. Now I got him. Let's see where they're going to send next. Excuse me. If you saw the bites on me, you'd understand. Well, in this case, to get back to Mr. Bajoun, he was part of special operations. So he's important. He was a big deal, big man over there. And we understand that and we applaud. Well, now the legal experts say that the case marks an escalation in the administration's attacks on the First Amendment rights. Afghanistan war veterans who know him say the case against Mavawalala appears to be anything but just. Kind of an enclosing quote here. Well, here's people who are familiar with the Bajoun. They say, quote, here's a guy who held a top secret clearance and was privy to some of the most insensitive information we have to offer to our combat troops who served in combat zones. To see him treated like this, it really sticks in my craw, which is slang for the chest area. See? So there it is. You got to be careful about your protest. But see, this also plays into, and I wonder if it does. And as a legal expert, I can't think too clearly at the moment. But if you recall, Bush made it illegal to protest military funerals, which then became protesting military administrative buildings, which Newsom did the same thing during the lockdown. He made it, they do the false flag. Then they say it's illegal to protest the CHP or police precincts. In general, they want to get rid of protesting, you see. And then when they can't, then they infiltrate it, pretending to be one of the protesters who then gets rowdy and just starts mucking up the joint. And that's how that one goes. But it was really Bush that started this ripple effect with the God hates the Fagettes. You remember that Borough Baptist Church? You know what I'm saying. They call it a cigarette in England. You know what I mean. Okay, we're going to continue on here as this brings us to World War III, and there's a war all around us, isn't there? World War III, let's talk about it. We have issues, and so does the world. Well, in this case, now there is a new power of God. The power of God. And I'm going to tell you about this. It's quite a powerful story, and it's in the title, too. Well, now Putin, Xi, and Kim Jong-un, that wonderful rap group over there, is now in most blood-curdling hot mic ever moment, as they're called despots, discuss, quote, replacing organs to achieve immortality. Do we want to hear this? And did you eat dinner first? We'll see if we can hear that. Well, now, this is one of the most bizarre stories I've covered about the power trio in quite some time. But it doesn't take my love away from these two or three. Well, in this case now, this is a bizarre moment, as they now say. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, a.k.a. Winnie the Pooh, as they call him back home, and Kim Jong-un. Not sure the original, but one of the seconds and thirds. Yes, we're all caught on mic discussing these things. And, I think it's an invasion of privacy. We've all discussed organ harvesting and immortality at one point in time. Well, in this case, Vlad, Xi, and Kim, in that order too, were leading a group as they went to watch China's biggest military parade ever. Now, the broadcast featured 3 despots discussing how biotechnology could result in humans living up to 150 years, which, by the way, one of the biggest booming businesses in California is biotech. So apply to what we're consuming here tonight and put that in the measurements of starts in California, then spreads to the rest of the country. Yes, it does. Now, Putin even speculates that repeated organ transplants could let us, quote, perhaps even achieve immortality. Yes, all three, who had never met before, they say, are known for their strict and highly choreographed appearances in front of the cameras and their award-winning hair at that. And catching them on unguarded moments like this is highly unprecedented. I'm going to show you that clip because I'm going to line it up. But if you don't know, this parade that they're talking about is set to be the first time China has ever displayed all of their military toys all at one time. It is something to be seen. In fact, we managed to catch a clip of it from one of our exclusive sleuths on the ground, and here it is right now, straight out of China. Well, it's defeated. And here's what they said about how they want to live forever. Jingmao's 70 years old. Earlier, people rarely lived at 270, but these days, at 70 years, you're still a child. Huh? Oh, yeah. With the development of biotechnology, human organs are around the corner. People can live younger and young and achieve immortality. There's a chance of also living to 150 years old. Well, I, for one, am offended, but also I'm very relieved, too, that I've never marked the organ donor little check mark on your ID, because guess what? You'll be sent to China immediately, and the glue factory if you're lucky. That's going to continue on as we now continue our forge ahead. Boom, right there to World War III. And how about that parade, too? Yeah, how about that parade? Lucky to have front row seats to that one. Now, here's something else, is now NATO is scrambling. And those are, that's a phrase I love to hear, but not often has it come. Well, now NATO scrambles warplanes as Putin launches biggest attack of the war. Oh, that's hard to believe now. And Vladimir Putin has now launched one of the most devastating assaults on Ukraine since the conflict began many, many moons ago, as the NATO force has now scrambled the warplanes, and they're now reporting on it, of their achievement. As now, Vladimir Putin also observed the Chinese military, and he said that he plans to continue to strengthen and beef up Russia, as you saw right there. And don't think that that parade is not going to influence Kim Jong-un and then Vladimir Putin to do the same. So, yeah, attacks on Ukraine continue because they started it. They started it. He's fighting the Bolsheviks. That's who we're fighting. These modern day Zionists are the Bolsheviks. Yes, they are. Continuing now with World War III now. Netanyahu is now putting his hat in the ring once again. He's now defying the world with his very defiant Polish middle finger. Yes, he is. Well, Netanyahu defies now the military warnings, mobilizes 40,000 reservists to Gaza for the Gaza City assault. When is enough enough? And the answer is, it's not enough. Well, Netanyahu has, yes, defies IDF warnings by launching a high-risk Gaza City offensive despite dire humanitarian and strategic consequences. Now, the IDF chief of staff and reservists openly opposes the operation, calling it illegal and lacking clear objectives. And that's where I say and ask, wait a minute, there was objectives to begin with? How come nobody told me? Well, now Gaza's death toll surpasses now a whopping 63,000, with famine worsening, with Israel's military admits needing months to prepare for this very assault. He wants to start right now, because if there's not a war going on, then there's a prosecution going on for Netanyahu and all of his political and financial crimes back in Tel Aviv. Well, now Netanyahu's refusal, the prime minister over there of Israel, to negotiate a permanent ceasefire isolates Israel diplomatically and fuels mass protest at home. Now, the war risks becoming an endless occupation. Some say too late, and some say not soon enough, or is it, as the deepening Israel's political and moral crises with no clear path to victory is just another day in the Tel Aviv paradise as they continue to march for more war. And well, that's not it. Wait, there's more. Going back to the power trio, now Trump wants to get in on it as he's now blasting Xi Jinping and Putin and Kim. He says, yeah, I don't care about it now. Let me talk about these three, as now he's calling them conspirators during Beijing's World War II victory parade, as we saw there. Well, now Xi and Putin and Kim, yes, the three brothers over there united at the military parade, as we saw now. But Trump he condemned the display as a conspiracy against the U.S., mocking the coordinated show of force. Why can't other countries have military parades? He did it. You know, we should all have that option. And how much of this is just a bunch of theatrical, like he said kind of thing? I mean, what is this? Well, China's military spectacle signaled its rejection of the American dominance, as many scholars who are familiar with the dominance are saying, is growing alignment with Russia and North Korea like never before. Yeah, well, we knew this was going to happen. Wesley Clark told us right now, as the Western indecision on Ukraine contrasts sharply with the bold, unified stance on Beijing, Moscow, and Pyongyang, that's over there in North Korea. Well, Trump's blunt warning underscores the crumbling of the old global order and the urgency of a stronger U.S. response. Ballyhoo to that. Ballyhoo, I say. Well, that leads us now to our final. We are now done with World War III. I'm still thinking about the parade, and just shows you where my head is. Okay, we have a lot more to get to here tonight. We're going to be getting to some real international with our main story when we get back. We're going to really examine just how dangerous, if any, it is for expats, for people abroad who are living or who are on holiday vacation, and even Canadians too, for that fact. It can't just be a U.S. only thing. And I'm willing to tie it to the entire West or anybody who's going along with a certain rogue country. We'll find out. Anyways, you're watching World at War, the #1 late night shadow band show in the world. We'll be back after this quick message because we got a long way to go and a very short time to get there. Don't go anywhere. Weird news. Good this now. Now we have to expect pregnant robots. That's right. That's right, ladies. It's not just men can have babies and so can robots too. Yeah, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. But so let me tell you now, as the pregnancy is really now coming into fold with the robot community, as they could give birth now to human children in a revolutionary breakthrough and a real game changer for infertile couples. And they say even two men who happen to be a couple, all alike. They're saying, what a time to be alive. And never my wildest dreams. And why would we? People are now marrying AI robots. And now robots might soon be able to carry babies. Yeah, screaming robot babies. Can't you just imagine being on that plane? Well, now reportedly, China is working on designing a bot with an artificial womb, which will receive nutrients through a hose in an abdomen. that will soon be able to carry a fetus for about 10 months before giving birth. That's absolutely right. The pregnancy robot is conceptualized by a very just kinky doctor called Dr. Zhang Queef. Dr. Zhang Queef. Well, the kinky Queef, founder of the Kaiwa technology over there in Gazong, China. Yes, if all goes according to plan, the prototype will make its debut next year. And don't worry, it's cost effective, ladies and gents and other robots. It's only going to cost you $14,000 compared to human surrogate, which is, yes, $100,000 to $200,000. So very cost effective and best in value. Okay, we are back. Let's get back to it as we continue to forge ahead in World at War's Anti-Americanism on the Rise. And what a hell of an episode, if I might add. Let's continue, shall we? Welcome back, everyone. I'm still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond. We have a long way to go. And guess what? Well, that's going to bring us to, real deal politics, just the way you like it. Well, I've never felt so patriotic before until I heard the following. And if I wasn't dehydrated, I would be crying. Yes, I would, and very emotional. Well, that brings us to now. Yes, Trump says arrest now. He says arrest now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right now. Like now? Right now. Yes, even if nothing comes of it, I just feel good just hearing about Dr. Frankenstein there, John Brennan, the registered communist, the man who gave us the racial divide, the man who created the monster of Chicago, the long-legged Mac Daddy, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, Barack Obama, that one, yes. And John, well, I guess John Clapper too, and we can add him to that. And yes, too tall over there, Stretch, Comey. Well, listen to this now. It might be getting serious as the walls could be closing in. Well, now Trump is indeed, yes, calling for the arrest of Comey and Brennan as DOJ probes Russiagate burn bag documents, which they said they just discovered, but I'm guaranteeing you people have been holding on to these for the right moment to give the gift, you know what I mean? Well, now Trump has no objection to seeing former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan, yes, arrested. And I got to back that. I see no problem with it. Depending if they're alive or dead, we don't know yet. But that's just how I feel. Well, he accuses them of being crooked and claims that their actions were an unprecedented abuse of power designated to undermine his presidency. Yes, and now the Justice Department, not you, just us, is now formally investigating the mishandling of the classified documents related to the Russian probe. Now, these files were discovered in, quote, burn bags at the FBI headquarters, right between the vending machine and the cappuccino one as well. Very well placed and hidden as are used to hold sensitive materials slated for secure destruction. You know, just when you thought Maxwell Smart was just a show, it's actually a handbook on how to do these things. Well, now, the figures who once led the investigation into Trump and the 2016 campaign and are now the subjects of federal scrutiny. This completely inverts the original dynamic of the Russian Gate story. I'd say so. All these developments are now deepening America's political divisions, assuming there are still those divisions at great lengths and great heights, while now challenging public trust in intelligence and law enforcement institutions and ensuring controversies of old will continue to resonate for quite some time. That is, if people still care to resonate. And that's just kind of how I see it from that angle. You know what I'm saying? And I think you do. Well, that brings us now to this. Well, students' visas get tighter. And I could have reworded that, but in this case, it's exactly what's happening. I'm going to tell you about this now because many people want to come to the U.S. to go to school, and then many people who go to school in the U.S. Well, you probably wouldn't want them to show their grades or the No Child Left Behind policies because it's quite embarrassing. Well, here's something else that might be a reason why to squirmish and be concerned now, as the new tightened laws are now coming as the student visa rules amid national security concerns. Now, that's right. The administration has now announced new restrictions on student visas, capping the duration of the F1 and J1 visas at 4 years. Well, the move designated to prevent indefinite stays now. You know, those forever students that are going to college, well, community college for 8 years, yet they're not a doctor yet. Those are the guys that are the problem. That's right. Well, the move is now designated to prevent the indefinite stays, as we mentioned, and protect U.S. national security. Well, it's now sparking backlash because people need something to have a backlash at from the immigration advocates and concerns about economic impacts on universities, because that's my concern. Well, the administration's decision also comes amid controversy over comments about Chinese students, which were later clarified to avoid misunderstanding. I don't know what's to clarify. They're not good drivers, these students, some of these people. They've never driven here. They drive on the left side of the road, and I think about something else now. Well, so here's the key points of the new rules. Here's the key takeaway, because that's what it's all about, where the rubber meets the road now, as the 4-year cap on visas is a thing that you're going to be seeing that. Enhanced oversight. That's right. X-ray vision, some call it. Now, the impact on international students. Well, what are we talking about, you might ask? Well, the changes will affect over 1.6 million foreign students, including, get this, 600,000 Chinese students. 600,000. And that's just a drop in the bucket. That's like a little penny over there in the homeland over there. Well, the economic and security concerns now. The administration aims to protect the American jobs, the national security, all the wonderful attributes that just take for granted, I guess. Well, the clarification on Chinese students, they clarify that the 600,000 students reference does not imply to an increase of Chinese student visas. Okay, well, there we go. We cleared the record there. Thank you very much. And that's how that one goes there. And that will now bring us to, we'll get this now. There's now another new law that's tightening. Yes, Rock the Vote is back, but it's now rocking the voter ID. Yes, it has that little New World Order, little twang to it. Let's hope not, at least. Well, let's get this now as the student visas tighten. Well, now there's an executive order that's going to tighten the elections. And where was this 5 years ago? Where was this years ago, midterms? I mean, does anyone know? Well, now Trump, in addition to what we just learned, he's now announced the executive order to mandate voter ID nationwide. Well, look, I get carded when I buy scratchers, lotteries, cigarettes, but I don't get carded when I vote. Is it because voting is just to pacify the peanut gallery? I must ask. Well, now the issue has been bound to become an issue, or no more, as now an executive order requiring voter identification for all U.S. elections, reiterating the commitment to enhancing election integrity and security must be taken seriously and put at the forefront now. As the new proposals, they move to mandate voter ID as a contentious debate, no more, and make it the law of the land. Well, the key points of what is now being said in the executive order is that the plans to issue this will be mandating all states issue and adopt the voter ID. Yes, rock the voter ID. Now, the legal and political challenges now, the order is likely to be challenged once again with the backlash crew in court and faces opposition from Democrats and civil rights groups, meaning leftover hippies from Haight-Ashbury Street, I believe. Now, the election integrity now, the Trump argues that the voter ID is crucial to prevent election fraud, for starters. Now, there's a disenfranchised concern here about the disenfranchised critics that warn that the voter ID laws could disproportionately affect minority and low-income voters. If I have to hear that one more time, or the word solidarity, that's it. I'm going postal. Tired of hearing that excuse. It's right up there with the they're using human shields. Okay, now here's the broader context. In closing here, because I can't take it anymore, is now this move is part of a broader GOP strategy now to tighten voting rules. Yes, we got that. A lot of tightening going on, which has been the point of contention for years. The end. Well, you feel better? It's a tightening society, as in the noose around our neck on so many levels. But there is some good pleasure with the big takeover, as at least woke is gone. And that is your real deal politics, just the way you like it, and just the way we were too. Now let's get on the Concorde and take a little flight, take a little trip, as Eric Burden used to say, and go overseas, as now Real Deal International is here. Well, it's always here, but Canada is coming up too. I'll tell you more about that. Yes, it is. We are back, Young Grasshopper, in this time with a vengeance, and we're here to tighten things, if you haven't noticed. Well, now we have something to tighten, and also to tell you now, as the EU, that's still around. Yes, I forgot about it too. Well, they're now doing a similar kind of thing. Well, it's called the EU jamming. It's the new craze. If you haven't heard about it, well, your kids are going to love it. But let me tell you about it first now, as the EU is jamming a lot of things. As we're tightening, they're jamming. Well, in this case, the EU fabricates, in addition to jamming, they fabricate the GPS jamming claim of their president's jet in a desperate attempt to blame Putin and escalate war against Russia. See, I'm telling you, this is what's happening. The biggest gaslighters in all of human history are the Bolsheviks. They control the war medium. That's all I'm saying. Just give it a chance. Well, now the EU is desperate to derail potential peace agreements in their war against Russia, and that is truly shocking. I thought they were all about peace and, death. Well, now fabricated an entire story about Moscow blatantly interfering with a jet carrying EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Yeah, that one there, that person, you've probably seen her. She looks like a rusty chicken. Well, now the flight tracking data from the Flight Radar 24, if you haven't heard about it, debunked the sensational claims of this terrible wench over there, the EU, proving the EU's narrative was nothing more than propaganda designed to justify further militarization and economic warfare against, yes, Russia, our true sister country. From Russia with love, the home of vodka and incredible James Bond women. Yes. Well, now this is what we're learning in closing now is Russia dismissed the claims as complete and utter nonsense, warning that the West is now and still manufacturing threats to distract, displace, and make a mockery of our country when the economic failures and justify plundering public funds continue to grow. They also said the EU, and I totally wholeheartedly agree with Vlad. He speaks for me sometimes. Well, he said the truth here. The EU, okay, the EU is the Fourth Reich. It is the Fourth Reich. Germany lost World War II, but fascism won. They just changed uniforms, to quote the great George Carlin, in this case, the Fourth Reich, and its militarization, as described by Russian officials, and yours truly right here, signals a dangerous slide toward the unchecked Russophobia still, and global instability. Yeah, well, they can go stuff it up their global disability. I'm so sick of the EU. I'm sick of NATO. There should not be. The world would be a much safer place without EU and the NATO allies. Do you think? I think so too. Okay, well, now we're going to go to this one here. As now we're more Israeli news coming out of that faction over there as the Israel Defense Force begin to walk. So Netanyahu wanted to dedicate 40,000 to the Gaza City offense. They said, no, don't do this. We're really hated right now. You're going to make it worse. You're getting not just lemon and pouring it into a wound. You're getting kerosene and just every unholy, godly, just acid at this point, pouring into the wound of Israel. But he won't stop. So now they've gone to the next level and they're defying the orders. And this is how it's done. Finally, finally, should have happened a while ago, but let me tell you a bit more about it because we have to give credit where credit is due. And a lot of young Jewish people abroad and domestically are standing up for their rights as they should. And we applaud those efforts here. No doubt about that. Now, as Israel's military crisis deepens as reservists refuse to fight in the Gaza genocide now, as Israel's military faces a historic manpower crisis as tens of thousands of reservists refuse to report for duty in Gaza. Soldiers call the war a political move with no clear end, citing exhaustion, trauma, and distrust in Netanyahu's leadership. Especially when you find out he's wearing a mask that one time. Who remembers that? I'd question it too, and I wouldn't even show up for work if that was the case. Well, now commanders are accused of hiding dropout rates, with some units operating at just 50% capacity. You smell that? Does that smell like the Ukrainian armed forces to you? Because I think it does to me. Now, the reservists describe the moral collapse, witnessing atrocities and friendly fire incidents that push them to abandon their service and run for the hills and run far away. Finally, Netanyahu's insistence on continuing the war clashes with the public demand for a hostage deal, which he's not in favor or in interest of, and risking Israel's military and social stability. Well, it's a little too late, but that's me and the rest of the world that say that. Well, now here's another one here as we get deeper into the world of dirty and dirt and done dirt cheap too. Well, you're so dirty. You so dirty. Excuse me. Pardon my almost English. Well, now Chinese money laundering is very dirty. You so dirty, as now their network poses a significant threat to U.S. financial systems. And let me just say, when I was investing in a lot of gold, the amount of Chinese pump and dumps into the gold and silver markets are unbelievable. And so I agree. They be dirty. They're very dirty the way they play. Now the financial institutions flagged an incredible astronomical $312 billion in suspected Chinese money laundering networks from 2020 to 2024. And that's just from the donut shops, everybody. We don't even know what they're getting from the casinos over there in Melbourne, do we? Now, the Chinese money launderers and the Mexican drug cartels have a symbolic relationship. Yes, they do. Yeah, it's a bit more than patty cake, if you know what I mean. Now, with the Chinese citizens seeking to evade currency controls. Now the Chinese are involved in real estate purchases and human trafficking. That's no mystery. That's no shocker there, amongst many other illicit activities now. Well, the U.S. Treasury Department is now urging financial institutions to be a vigilante, to make it short and plain, against Chinese money laundering networks, if you would be so kind. Chinese citizens are also using the underground banking systems to bypass currency control laws, crypto and barter and favors, if you will. So no word on whether the Treasury Secretary is opening an investigation at behest of the DOJ at this time, but it is developing and we'll find out soon. Now this brings us to our main story here tonight. As you might have seen the title, it's called The Anti-Americanism on the Rise. Well, yes, it is. Let me tell you about it now, because we have to learn, we have to know, and we have to galvanize, as we always say. Well, now, in this case, there's now a warning. There's now a warning happening from people in Mexico who are seeing some things, and it's not very nice, and it's not very polite. And even Levi's Strauss Jeans is warning, and I'm going to tell you about that next. Well, the headline is now Gringos Leave. Protests targeting travelers rise as over-tourism anger grows. And it has been growing since, at least that I can recall on record, since 2020. Now, the protest against tourism has now increased as tourist arrivals to popular destinations surpass the pre-pandemic levels over there. The over-tourism persists. The residents' reaction often move from tolerance to complaints to confrontations. Just the way, we're used to it over here now, as the protests don't repeal travelers in the long term, but they can pressure governments to act now. That's right. Just over there in Mexico City, we've seen the rise of the revolutionaries and the communists. It's been very well documented as the Mexican City residents over there march against over-tourism as protests move beyond Europe. And it starts with quote, quote, over tourism, but it's really get out gringo. That's right. Mark my words on that one. As always happens, we've seen it throughout time. History is repeating, and it's definitely no surprise now as the protests are now on the rise against over tourism, but really a European national to some have now increased the frequency as now size as residents who got snippet of their cities without tourists during the pandemic have now seen tourism return and even exceed the pre-pandemic levels, as we explained to you prior. Now, residents typically choose protests instead of other forms of lobbying because they generate public awareness, which leads to media coverage and societal pressures for governments to act, and ultimately one killer after party. It happened in Barcelona, it's happening in Mexico, and it's going to be happening at a foreign country that is near you, depending if you're in it. So you're going to see a huge uptick in protests. And don't think that the communists are just going to allow this strife to go on unchecked without their just grubby communist sticky fingers getting involved. No, they're going to get involved in it as well. And finally here, well, this is now even reaching Levi's Strauss. Yes, we've all bought a pair of Levi Strauss. And in fact, I remember ripping mine last, and I've never bought another pair since. But in this case, they're giving us a start warning. Us as in Americans now, as the iconic denim brand Levi Strauss has now warned the growing international backlash against Americans is now underway. Oh, I know. It's not easy being a Californian, believe me. Now, the international backlash against the President Trump and Americans is all kind of seen hand in hand in this case, although I'm willing to make a pivot on that, but I'll wait. In recent filings with the United Kingdom's National Business Registry over there, the California-based company, Levi Strauss, noted the risk of rising anti-Americanism as a consequence of the Trump tariffs and governmental policies Now, Levi's warned that this could increasingly push consumers in the UK away from American goods and toward non-American alternatives. Yeah, like Oshkosh Bakosh, I'll be damned if I wear those again. Well, now, why this matters, you might ask, is because there's now over 3,000 stores worldwide with annual revenues exceeding $6 billion. Levi's is one of the largest American brands to warn of the indirect effect of operations from global opposition to Trump's trade policies. Now, so they want to base this on just basically tariffs alone. And I'm here to say, no, a lot of this is based on our persistence in allowing a rogue nation, and if not leading the rogue nation, as we were controlled by them, to fight all their wars and displace millions and millions of people. And if you want to get into Central America and South, well, then we have to have another look at our Central Intelligence Agency, which is mirrored to the rogue nations agencies, and that's why we're hated. I mean, all the other things can turn around just like that, but the main one is just that we are the creators of chaos, war, and sometimes tacky music, if you want to just be frank about it. Well, now that's going to lead us to a very good segment as we close off the night here with one more, because I care and I don't want to see any of us aging. But before I do, this is coming out of Canada. They're not happy about it, the whole thing.
We will make it. Why?
That was England, but you know what? It's part of the Commonwealth. You know what I meant. We lost that file. We'll come back to it tomorrow. We have a major Canadian news this coming Friday. You don't want to miss that. Okay, we have one more that's going to bring us to Real Deal Health and a very flawless show here tonight.
Paging Dr. Ryan.
Well, as we kind of sunset the night away and dance the night away too, depending, well, I want to leave everyone with some great news and some very helpful advice as a medical professional like myself. And I know a thing or two. What can I tell you now? There's something that is going to be slowing the aging process because let's face it, we're living in a worldwide calamity. We have been for 5 years. And even before that, the the tension in the United States alone with the political apparatus has been pretty sky high since 2015. So if you take that into account, that's 10 years of tightening, as we were learning earlier, tightening the noose, your finances, your friends, your job, your health. Everything is tightening. And what does that cause? It causes stress, what does that cause? Aging. That's right. And I tell all my patients this, but I'm going to tell you here tonight, as there's something now that can stop this. Well, a new Harvard study now is now proving daily vitamin D slows cellular aging by preserving the telomere length in adults over 50. That's true. Now, the vitamin D reduces the inflammation, a key driver of the telomere, shortening in chronic diseases linked to aging. Pharmaceutical companies ignore the natural solutions like vitamin D because they can't be patented or monetized. And that's right, you can't sell them out. They don't sell out. Now, the mainstream medicine limits vitamin D recommendations to bone health despite broader proven benefits. And that's why we say, damn with the lamestream urine-soaked media. Now, safe dosing of 2,000 IU daily works. That's the vitamin D over there, 2,000 IUs. But excess can cause toxicity. Sunlight and diet remain critical, not to be forgotten. And Big Pharma cannot stop what's coming because all the medicines, all the cures, all the remedies we're looking for in this world are not in an aisle at CVS or Walgreens or the big pharma man at the elite towers. No, they're Mother Nature, and they're all around us, aren't they? Which will bring us now to final thoughts. Eat your cereal, say your prayers, and do your prayers. Final thoughts here. All right. Hurry up, Elton. Final thoughts here. Thank you for staying with me here tonight as we conclude the Anti-Americanism on the Rise. Yes, we knew it was going to happen. We knew it was going to come. But if we get the word out now, we could kind of prevent these things from happening. And just like we can prevent things from happening ever again, like 9/11. And that's why tomorrow night, as I segue shamelessly, tomorrow night, you don't want to miss night two. Night two. Night two of the 9/11 debate there. Because guys like Richard and Jim, they don't want these things to happen again. And they put the skin in the game before it was okay to put skin in the game. And just like we put skin in the game to tell people what a real proxy war that is happening right now, and what is truly the medications and the true natural supplements that are going to save you, your family, your friends, and maybe just people you just take for granted, like your mailman that you see every day. Maybe you pass that word on to him because a little insight, a little laughter, and a little friendly gesture to people out there could save somebody's life, or at least give them a small vacation from all the problems in this world. And if vitamin D can do that for you, and if my insistence on telling you can provide that, then so be it. It's a small price to pay. In fact, it's no price at all. So I wanted to share that with you as my final thought. Take all your vitamins out there, eat your cereal, and try to say some prayers, will you? So tomorrow night, you don't want to miss night two of the 9/11 debate. I'll be there. Yes, I will be there tomorrow night. And then Friday, we have a Friday Night Rumble. I'm going all week long. Friday Night Rumble. And don't miss the main event Saturday night. Don't miss that. Jim Fetzer versus Richard Gage. Yeah, and then Friday we have some special guests too, but I can't tell you about. So we're going to leave it there. All right, for all of us here at Real Deal Media and the #1 show here, World at War, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night with all of us. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned and always stay awake. Take your vitamins too. Good night, everybody, and